Why I hate TikTok. This is from a while ago, but let's see if there's some valid criticisms here, because I also hate TikTok. Now, my reason I hate TikTok is because they banned me, so of course I'm going to hate TikTok. I mean, I was 2.5 million followers and verified, and of course there's a bunch of, groomers and predators on TikTok that are verified, but, fuck me, I got to get off the app, right? So, and that's mostly because the audience doesn't care about the grooming or any of those predators. They care more about being slightly offended by edgy jokes. But one of the things I hate about TikTok is also one of the things that makes TikTok so good, and it's the fact that it gets so toxic. And I know that the toxicity isn't good, but it's why there's toxicity. The reason TikTok is so toxic is because different spheres of TikTok get to be converged, and they pound into each other through the For You page, where anybody can see any content if it hits hard. And that's what creates so much social interaction. Now, of course, while it's a very good thing because it helps you blow up and expand your reach, the negative part of that is that people in different spheres are going to see it. But that's one of the great things about it. Now, of course, what's really bad about TikTok, and this is more of a recent thing, is that TikTok is becoming more and more politically correct, more and more socially constricting towards what audiences feel is palatable. Keep that in mind. It's reactionary. Two people could say the exact same thing, but if one audience doesn't like one thing that one person says, then they will ban it. They'll ban it. It's really very much like reactionary based on what the perception of people. It's unfortunate. You can't really talk about social issues on a social app. You can't really talk about politics on a social app. You should be able to talk about social issues and politics. There should be a niche on the app, but of course, it gets taken down very quickly. Very unfortunate. I'm not really like oh my god, they're stifling my freedom of speech guy, but I actually do kind of believe that they are. It's kind of pathetic that they're catering to the lowest the lowest denominator on TikTok.
See, dear, I'm just
fucking
subscribed.
Losers. Just absolute fucking loser children who want to just not see particular content.
Before diving in, if you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing for $5 a month on locals.com. Videos are available on that platform ad-free, as well as in audio podcast form, and some other benefits as well. It gives the channel a much more stable source of revenue when compared to advertising. Okay, so I've been asked now probably hundreds of times, that might be an exaggeration, but it feels like hundreds of times, by viewers, even friends and family, why do you hate TikTok so much? Is it just you looking down on what the kids are doing these days? Like,
you know what one of the things is I didn't bring up? One of the really toxic things about social media in general, but this is more TikTok specific, is how it champions the idea of becoming famous for nothing. There's really nobody that's talented on TikTok. It's a bunch of children that are doing like 2-second dances and shaking their ass, and they're just, most of the more popular people on TikTok are moderately attractive individuals that look like blank slates. So if you look at somebody like Charli D'Amelio, she's not unattractive, but she's not like the most attractive person, but she's like a midline, somewhat attractive kid. Not to me, but a lot of young girls look at her. It's like the Twilight effect, where Twilight was written in a way for like a blank slate character for you to feel like you could insert yourself into, so you could watch through the story from your own perspective. That's Charli D'Amelio. Young girls look at her and go, I could do that, because she's not particularly talented. No offense, Charli. She's not particularly talented. But they look at her like a blank slate, like, oh, I could do that. I look like that, like, because she's achievable, she's attainable. And then young boys, of course, they find her attractive, and so like that makes them watch her for as many as actually do. And you find that a lot in a lot of content creators on TikTok. It's usually just like more, attractive people, attractive that you can insert yourself into, or some kind of sexualized bait. There's a lot of like people on there, especially young men, young boys, who like their whole platform is sexualizing themselves. Like the fucking Lopez brothers, their entire job is to be sexy for fucking teenage girls. Like, that's all they do. It's disgusting. There's just a lot of problems with TikTok. It promotes this fantasy idea that you don't have to work hard to achieve a lot. That's the dream a lot of kids chase, and then they don't actively chase more practical dreams that will actually help them succeed in life, like a fucking real job.
Like every generation, or is there a real reason? And so today, I want to answer that question.
Post on Bella Porch. Bella Porch is kind of another one. She's just an attractive girl who's not particularly massively talented. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, she's not a good singer. She's a person that people like, so they'll listen to her music. And then there's really good production quality, so they can auto tune it a bit and make her sound like she's actually decent. That's all it really is. And I'm not trying to be rude, but that's like the nature of the beast. There are objectively better artists and musicians out there, but why does Bella Poarch get pushed up? Well, because she has a following. People like her, so they're going to watch her music, even if it's not the best. It's the same reason why people watch Gabby Hanna's music, despite the fact that she's a rancid cunt. It's because she's famous.
As thoroughly as possible, because there is not a real reason. There are many real reasons that I consider to be very important, and they're only getting worse day after day. I'm going to operate under the assumption that most people already know what TikTok is, but briefly, for those that don't, you are supremely lucky right off the bat. It's a video sharing social media app for short videos, and I mean very short videos about anything really, but it seems to...
Yeah, and that's like another thing. The shortness of the video is also a big factor as well. If you really think about it, the shortness of the video is an absolute factor. It's killing us. You see how like video platforms are getting shorter and shorter as time goes on? Well, that's because they're playing to our very limited attention spans. And so whereas you used to have to watch a YouTube video for minutes and minutes and minutes on end, they were slowly going down from that to Instagram, which is like encourages like a minute, and now we're down to TikTok, which encourages like 10 seconds, and then soon, I don't know how Vine got taken over. I feel like Vine should have been the next in line. Next in line, we'll have like a 1-second videos where you just show your ass or something. I don't know. Call those pictures.
Gravitate towards early and late teen influencers making trash tier comedy or sing-along and dance videos that are then viewed and consumed by children younger than them. That's not the only format, but at the very least, it's a sizable
majority. And there's also a lot of sexualization on TikTok that gets promoted, not just through the promotion of OnlyFans, but like we were saying before, it's like the literal jobs of like young boys and girls who are older than like other young boys and girls to be sexy for those young boys and girls. It's disgusting.
The app is awful.
When you're dancing and like you're gyrating your hips and like you're fucking like thrusting your fucking penis at people, you're sexualizing yourself and you're promoting that to children, and it's disgusting.
To explain this best, I'll compress what are likely a dozen separate reasons down to about 5. These 5 reasons have entrenched me in a position of vocal, vitriolic, and emphatic hatred of the app, and also cemented the belief in my mind.
Yeah, Bella Poarch or whatever sexualizes innocence and childlike mannerisms. Sure.
That it is not only a detrimental factor in the lives of modern youth, it is also indicative of a weak and deceptive personality for those who use or create content on the site respectively. So let's begin. Reasons why I hate TikTok. Number 1. The first reason I despise the app is a result of early perception around predator usage, but that perception was merely buried and never truly addressed. The issue comes from the free-flowing communication between predatory adults and children of various ages.
Yeah, who would have thought? We just finished talking about Joe Robe. He is 27 years old, using his platform to talk to 17-year-old boys, wait for them to be 18 and try to hang out with them.
On an app that seems to reward sexualized snippets of content from underage users. This was a widely echoed sentiment with a few very egregious examples early on. However, this has not changed, as merely stepped out of the spotlight, and the app still operates as a den and haven for similar predatory behavior.
Sure.
All the way into 2020, cybersecurity experts have now issued repeated warnings about this phenomenon, but they are drowned out by the common household impression of the app being a harmless little song and dance social media. Bottom line, the app features a disgusting trove of underage content that is often explicit in nature, and the moderation aimed at curbing this material of the predatory behavior that arises as a result has been lackluster or entirely unsuccessful. And to some degree, this is going to be true of any social media out there, but with TikTok, it's a whole lot worse. That is reason number 1 why I despise the app, and that reason has existed since the initial popularity wave that brought it to mainstream Western spotlights. Reason number 2 is much more recent, but similar in effect. The rudimentary principle is yet again child exploitation. You'll see a common theme of that with TikTok, but this time I only found it after an investigation into the predatory behavior of certain Fortnite esports organizations. What I discovered was pretty simple, but even more widespread than I realized at the time. Fortnite, another viral trend that is exceptionally common with today's youth, has a monetization program called Support a Creator, or SAC. And that program allows for purchases with your code applied to award a 5% affiliate commission. This is used in a legitimate way by YouTubers and streamers all over the globe, but it is also used in an illegitimate way by bad faith actors on TikTok. What I discovered was that there were dozens of teams, and this trend extends much further than just the sad little esports org community I was investigating, but there were dozens of teams that had begun to utilize TikTok as a way to trick children into using their code by lying to them. The format is pretty simple. Fake some screenshots, pretend you will be buying them a bunch of cool items or computer parts, pretend to have a mansion, or otherwise just make up extravagant things to get them to put the code in and harvest profit from their spending. It's already bad, but in the
It's a phase key moment, guys.
aftermath of my investigation, it got even
I thought that his cursor on the screen was my cursor, so I got confused.
worse. I discovered that in tandem to the actual organizations running this scam, there were individuals within the teams, even as high as the flat-out leader of one of the groups, doing the method for themselves. The leader of a team named Assault, I believe his name was Keifua, would go on TikTok claiming to be related to Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, and trick children into implementing his code with a slew of lies and deceptions. He is not alone. This is not the only example, but the takeaway is that I realized the predation on TikTok extends well and truly beyond simple sexual motivations, and there was an underbelly of financial misconduct and exploitation as well. Now to make a transition. For reason number 3, we have to pivot away from exploitation, though that will still be present to some degree, and move to history. There was a disturbing, sickeningly callous trend on TikTok very recently where creators would put on makeup and pretend to be deceased victims of the Holocaust. This was a viral trend.
How did I miss that? Holy shit.
To get views, and it was beyond insensitive. Now, some of these creators may have had no ill intent whatsoever, but the reason I found this to be completely unconscionable extends to the actual state of millennial culture. According to a recent study, 2/3 of American millennials cannot
Bro, what the fuck is this?
even identify what Auschwitz is. Going further, nearly 20% of American youth don't even know what the Holocaust was. So for many viewers of these deranged little skits, this is literally their only interaction with the concept, their only interaction with the tragedy of 100 million lifetimes. And that interaction is a cheap, shallow, and obnoxiously self-centered skit to get views on a garbage social media platform.
Bro, that's fucking weird. That was a trend for a week where people would dress up as like old Holocaust victims. Dude, what the fuck? That's fucking incredible to me. That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Why would you have to be incredibly fucking stupid and like to not I don't understand. I don't remember that. I guess I fucking missed that. I guess I wasn't on the app for that week. Dude, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how could you be so ignorant to like that struggle? It's like, yeah, I was this guy who was put in a camp because I was simply Jewish. Fucking Gen Z is full of absolute dipshit morons.
That also was not the end of this trend. Like
what? That one's like the worst. That one, what the fuck?
Clockwork, these mentally deficient TikTok creators began to perform similar routines on the anniversary of September 11th, 2001.
Fantastic. That's perfect. Hey guys, I'm going to dress up as fucking George Floyd on the anniversary of George Floyd's death. Would that be insensitive? Oh, probably. Maybe we should stop dressing up as fucking dead people. Specifically survivors of fucking tragedies. Jesus Christ.
For a personal reason, September 11th is a day I will always remember, each and every year till the day I die. And the same can be said for a great deal of Americans. Watching our youth pervert and exploit these tragedies while indoctrinating their viewers to now treat these issues with increasingly desensitized or disrespectful actions, that is not something I will ever support or tolerate. The videos are sick, they honestly are. Makeup to look like you've been burned or cut, strange music playing or even just pop songs, making comments like, oh, she's so hot, what's her number? Then inserting a facility, an inmate number for one of the concentration camps. These spoiled, petulant, greedy, and insensitive brats are making a mockery of something that they likely do not even understand, all for the dopamine hit of some extra views on a disgusting, pathetic platform aimed at peddling rapid-fire, useless drivel to our youth. But that's not all. Reason number 4 revolves around TikTok's internal treatment of certain creators on their platform and the forced suppression of disabled users to preserve an outward-facing image, under the guise of it being to protect them from bullying. German outlet Netzpolitik uncovered internal documents that specifically outline how TikTok moderation deliberately and manually suppressed certain videos and creators for no other reason than physical appearance or other visible defects. The policies deliberately kept disabled users out of any sort of global spotlight.
Oh yeah, I saw this. This is one of those things that's hard to be like yes or no on. So TikTok, they made it so that if you had like some kind of like a physical or mental disability, that you wouldn't be able to really hit. They actively suppress disabled people. And the reason that they did it is because whether you want to hear this or not, TikTok is it's really a place where everybody makes fun of disabled people. I'm sorry for stretching. Everybody makes fun of disabled people. Even you sitting there be like, no, I don't. You have your favorite account with like somebody that has like low functioning autism or high functioning autism, you know, or autism or Down syndrome or something that like you watch because they make you giggle. Even if you don't mean anything necessarily negative by it, you're watching them to ridicule them to some extent. And TikTok's full of that. And so the way that they wanted to prevent that from like happening from people, you know, diminishing people with disabilities like that is they'd suppress them. Now, of course, I don't think that's the right way to go. I think that's kind of like shitty, but that was the whole point, was to get them to not be bullied. But then, you know, you see it in like Bandit 2000, who like young stupid trolls are constantly like being like, oh, you killed George Floyd, and then he gets like really upset and he's like, no, I didn't. And you know, of course, TikTok doesn't ban the people who do that. They'll just ban the content creator, because they banned them at one point. It's fucking stupid.
And throttled their viewership in the low hundreds or thousands to make sure that others were not subjected to their appearance. And all of this was under the guise of benevolence, claiming that there was a high risk of bullying, so they should be suppressed for their own good. Compounding this was how Chinese executives would override individual branch or employee concerns about these types of policies. And no matter how you look at this issue, it should become painfully clear just how disgusting this platform truly is.
I mean, I suppose China could have been doing it just because they hate disabled people. I mean, I suppose that's true. I guess just from my experience, I see a lot of people with disabilities bullied on TikTok, so I actually tend to believe the narrative that they're just trying to prevent that, but it's entirely possible. That they actually hate. They actually just don't like disabled people. I mean, China is a shitty asshole country run by asshole. Well, the country in itself, the people there are great. The government's shit. You know, the businesses are shit. You know, they force their workers to work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day.
So now for the biggest reason. The fifth and final point I would like to address is unnatural societal degradation, facilitated by social media and attention span. The idea of social media degrading our modern society is not new, and it's definitely not uncommon, but it is very much ignored by the mainstream spotlight. There have been sizable studies concluding that Twitter quite literally erodes your intelligence, that social media subverts your short-term memory, decreases attention span, undermines critical thinking, and a host of other issues scientifically outlined, documented, and proven, but for some reason we all ignore it. To be clear here, I still personally use social media, perhaps even more than I should. Then again, my brain is fully developed, and
well, that's what I was about to say. Like, you know, when older people use social media, I don't think it's as bad. But when you're a developing teenager, social media is probably the most toxic thing in the world for you. Especially when you're on like Instagram and whatnot, and you look at somebody. Oftentimes you're encouraged to just promote the best of yourself on social media platforms. And so it gives people, especially young people, a very diluted sense of the world and a very diluted interpretation of the world, where they feel like if they're struggling, they're doing something wrong, which means that they get additionally depressed because their life isn't ideal like the lives of their favorite celebrities. And like there's a big problem with like that perception absolutely destroying the minds of young people and making them really weak-willed and weak-minded and just ignorant.
And also, it's a fairly integrated part of being a gaming YouTuber, which is my full-time career at the time, so there isn't that much of a choice, and I attempt to limit it as best I can, even though I often fail. However, I have never once touched TikTok, and I never will, because TikTok is an extension of these problems to their logical extreme. Even the Silicon Valley tech moguls have begun to address these problems, stating their regret at developing these addictive systems. Chris Marcelino, who helped to develop the push notifications for Apple phones, stated that these social media pop-ups leverage the same neural pathways as gambling and drugs. Chamath Palihapitiya, I think I'm pronouncing that right, the former vice president of user growth at Facebook.
Maybe I shouldn't make a TikTok again. Maybe TikTok is really worthless dog shit. That's bad for you.
Stated explicitly, I feel tremendous guilt. I think we all knew in the back of our minds something bad could happen. How about Sean Parker, ex-president of Facebook, who said, "You are exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology." And the list goes on and on. The people who made these
I'm just more interested in this flash sale that ends in months ago.
At having done so, and know that what they have done was harmful. Now, some viewers might immediately argue, well, you're on social media and you make YouTube videos, which is the same thing. But in reality, it isn't. YouTube is a much larger ecosystem with individual examples of bite-sized content that can degrade
I mean,
attention.
it depends on the way that you make your content. If you're making long-form entertaining videos, though, or even like short-form, that are I really just don't perceive it as the same thing. I don't really perceive it as the same thing. YouTube is not nearly as toxic. There aren't people out to fucking get you on YouTube every little move that you make. It's a much, in my experience, it's been a much better platform, a lot more fun, a lot less toxic, a lot less personal. In a way that like is because the personability, what do you say, of TikTok can be very, very, very toxic. It's TikTok is a scum fuck app, man.
Span and harm user intelligence as well as exploitation. Absolutely, it's all happened, but the normal and constant TikTok atmosphere is a degradation on critical thinking. The standard is a tiny little clip of someone doing a stupid thing or a dumb little dance or a dumb face that they make. Throw in the constant and unending potential for there to be scammers, predators, or ignorant, insensitive, offensively constructed youth exploitation of historical tragedy purely for views, and what do you have? What you have is a platform that takes social media to its almost comical extreme. Think of Twitter versus a blog online. On one, there is composed consciousness. It is a user exploring their own thoughts, and others are able to read it if they want to.
I feel like
On
he's
the
jerking
other,
off his
it's
job a little too
constant
much.
stream of character-limited shouting, which has devolved to a point of near uselessness. Your responses are contained within a set number of letters, and the standard interaction is kind of like small talk, I guess, but way worse, with people who have shifted the Overton window so far that now blatantly inflammatory extremist content on the platform is the best way to reach a larger audience and achieve the dopamine hit of user interaction, specifically designed by the executives to be addictive. TikTok is even worse. Audio-visual fragments and nothing more that waste an obscene amount of time for those who scroll habitually through the platform's uselessness. These are not even coherent thoughts, just flailing, brain-dead movements and funny faces. There is no learning potential, no intellectual value, no thought-provoking discoveries, just mindless, unending garbage, punctuated with historical insensitivity, scamming, predator grooming, and corporate suppression of your profile simply because of your physical appearance. The platform takes the frantic attention-grabbing norm of social media, which is widespread in our society now, and goes even further. That is, it goes further in a world where the architects of the original harmful social media framework already acknowledge openly it is damaging to our minds and our everyday behavior, while TikTok is even worse. For these main reasons and a bunch of others, but for the sake of time, I'll just keep it to these main 5, I despise the platform. I hope it gets banned, as unlikely as that is, by the US government. And I hope it is stricken from our society entirely because the value it might possess sometimes is vastly outweighed by the harm that it does constantly and will continue to do. TikTok is by far the worst social media platform in existence right now. And having been asked time and time again where my hatred came from, hopefully this adequately explains. But that's it. If you want to support, there are links down below, merch, locals if you're interested, and another gaming YouTuber to support, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. I understand where he's coming from. There's definitely a lot of problems with TikTok. I think that the biggest problem, though, is more than anything else, that they aren't dealing with the issues. They're not dealing with the problems. They just kind of like let the predators on the app and they like let the toxicity sit on there rather than deal with like all the toxicity. So I think that's the biggest problem. Hey everyone, if you liked that video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow my Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and TikTok. All links are in the description. Also, check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me even more than you already do. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you all.